Hello everyone, with the Jamaica here. Welcome to this updated video on the weather across Jamaica and the rest of the Caribbean. It is Sunday evening, November 16, 2025. Now before we jump into it, please ensure that you all like this video. I'd really appreciate it if you all get this video to 100 likes. If you don't know by now, that's how the YouTube algorithm works. We all like the video and then the YouTube algorithm pushes the video out to more persons who are in the path of these tropical systems so that we can keep everyone safe, especially during the peak months of Atlantic hurricane season, that's August through to October. Share this video with your friends, your co-workers, your relatives, and even your church brethren, and subscribe if you haven't yet done so. Please ensure that you all utilize the progress bar that's located at the bottom of the video, as well as the timestamps that are located not only in the comment section, but the video description, so that you can skip to the points in the video that you want to see the most in order to save time, because we know that the videos over here with the Jamaica can be very long. Leave a comment down below, let me know what the weather's been like in your area recently. Also, feel free to ask any weather related question that you might have about the future of the weather in your specific area. Taking a look at the U.S. National Hurricane Center's 7-day graphical tropical weather outlook that just came out at 6:15 p.m. Jamaica time, we can see that tropical cyclone activity is not expected during the next 7 days, and this is the reason why. Not much of anything is across the Atlantic at this time trying to develop, just some frontal systems across the open waters of the northern portion of the North Atlantic, and the usual clouds associated with the intertropical convergence zone right here across the southern main development region. And we know that if something should form, the next name on the list is Nestor. Taking a look at the surface map of the Atlantic for this evening, we can see that frontal system that we mentioned across the northern portion of North Atlantic, stretching all the way down to the north of Puerto Rico. There's actually a trough right here to the east of the Windward Islands. To the east of the troughs, we have two troughs of low pressure right in here, but I doubt that they're going to be trying to develop at all, considering that there's a lot of upper level wind shear out there. We also have another trough right here across the western Caribbean. And if we take a look at the visible satellite images of the Atlantic before we lost sunlight, we can make out all of these entities. The clouds associated with the trough right here across the western Caribbean, the clouds associated with that frontal system extending from northern portion of North Atlantic all the way down to the north of Puerto Rico, the clouds associated with that trough to the east of the Windward Islands, the clouds associated with the troughs of low pressure, one right in here. Hold on, let me draw that again, because if you look closely you can even see that there's a swirl associated with it on the southern edge right in there. And we can also see the other trough of low pressure right in here pushing quickly from east west, just like what we saw on the surface map, and they're definitely pushing from east-west, all courtesy of the ridge of high pressure to the north. We'll be talking more about the rest of the Caribbean weather later on. Let us focus our attention on the prediction that was made in yesterday's video about the weather across Jamaica for today, Sunday, November 16, 2025. It was stated that rainfall could have been in the forecast for parts of some eastern, central, and western parishes during Sunday afternoon. And we know that eastern parishes, we're talking about those parishes in the county of Surrey, like Portland, St. Thomas, Kingston, and St. Andrew. Central parishes, we're talking about those parishes in the county of Middlesex, like St. Anne, St. Mary, Manchester, Clarendon, and St. Catherine. While western parishes, we're talking about those parishes in the county of Cornwall, like Hanover, St. James, Trelawney, Westmoreland, and St. Elizabeth. And what ended up happening? At around 8:31 a.m., the visible satellite image was posted not only here on our Twitter page with the Jamaica, but it was posted also on our Instagram page with the Jamaica, on our TikTok page with the Jamaica, and on our Facebook page with the Jamaica 876. So if you have one of those social media platforms, please ensure that you follow us there, as we make posts throughout the day that you cannot afford to miss. So we can see the clouds that will bring some overcast skies, if not some isolated showers, actually in the morning, and this wasn't really predicted for the morning, but it definitely brought some overcast skies, if not some rainfall, to sections of St. Mary into Portland and St. Thomas for sure at around the 8:31 a.m. time frame. Then at around 4:55 p.m. the visible satellite images were posted, and they highlighted the clouds that were bringing some overcast skies, if not some isolated showers, to sections of some eastern, south central, and southwestern parishes especially. And we can see that even better on the visible satellite images right here, and the clouds across Portland into St. Thomas. We also saw some clouds into sections of Clarendon, Manchester, St. Elizabeth, and Westmoreland. So it was more so the southern sides than the northern sides, skies for sure, and we can definitely make out the upper level clouds being sheared off towards the east, even although the upper level clouds weren't that evident today. And we can see that even better on the infrared here. Not much in the way of cumulonimbus cloud cover at all. Just a burst of convection to the west of us that quickly blew off towards the east. There was actually a slight burst of convection right here across sections of southern Clarendon right in there, but nothing significant. No sparkling white dots that would, represent some amount of lightning strikes, if not lightning flashes at all. No cumulonimbus clouds whatsoever, just some low to mid-level clouds for the most part. Unfortunately, we don't have the Jamaican Doppler radar imagery here to show because this broke down. Well, we saw that it broke down even yesterday, but we have the live camera here from C Jamaica's YouTube channel. This is showing the flat bridge at around 12:16 p.m. Definitely sunny for the most part. Nothing in the way of bad weather taking place. Skipping ahead to about this is about 2 hours later, I believe, if it will load for me. Doesn't seem like it wants to load at all. Alright, no problem. But clearly, there we go. Definitely sunny for the most part, even at 2:14 p.m. Skipping ahead even by 3:48 p.m. Definitely dry. Nothing in the way of bad weather at all took place in this part of St. Catherine today. And I would like for you to keep in mind that if you'd like to see more live streams like this, just visit C Jamaica on YouTube. They have these live streams all for you all to view for free. So subscribe today to this channel so that you don't miss out. Taking a look at the total accumulated precipitation for the past 24 hours from the Caribbean Institute for Meteorology and Hydrology website. This map does indeed paint quite the picture of where we had that rainfall today, especially across sections of some south central and southwestern parishes. And we have a few comments that came in here today from some of our followers. We have Chef stating gray skies, moderate showers in her area. We also have on our YouTube page active 4810 stating wet and muddy 1 hour ago in his parish. You have Demure Lockstaffar sitting overcast in Portmore right now, nearly 1 p.m. We have Sherry walking in favor. Stewart stating rain for days, posted 50 minutes ago in her era. Even on our Instagram page, we had some comments that came in from Marlon_OneGod_ posting 1 hour ago that the place is wet in his era. Thank you all for confirming what the weather is like in your area for today. Let us reload the very latest still image here from the Weatherner's website, the latest Jamaican Doppler radar image, the latest Cuban Doppler radar image, the latest Guantanamo Bay US Navy radar imagery, and the latest Cayman radar imagery. We want to see exactly what's happening across the island right now. Alright, so the latest still image is showing 23:25 UTC, which is actually 6:25 p.m. So this just came out 10 minutes ago, considering that it is 6:35 p.m. right now. And as you can see, just some leftover clouds from today's not really thunderstorm, but today's afternoon convection across sections of southern Manchester into Clarendon. Maybe some overcast skies, if not some isolated showers still being experienced down there. Unfortunately, we don't have the Jamaican Doppler radar to confirm. The Cuban Doppler radar imagery is here though, and we see it going all the way up to 6:30 p.m. So this just came out 5 minutes ago, considering that it is 6:35 p.m. right now. And as you can see, we have the greens into the yellows, and that represents some moderate, even some heavy rainfall. The greens, moderate rainfall. Yellows, that's fuerte. So we have some rainfall just exiting the southern coast of Manchester for sure, even some of it exiting the southern coast of St. Elizabeth, southwestern coast of Clarendon as well. The Guantanamo Bay US Navy radar, the latest imagery right about here, which is showing 23:12, which is actually 6:12. Not showing anything across northeastern Jamaica, nothing across southeastern Cuba or the western peninsula of Haiti. And the Cayman radar is still down, so we can't even make out western Jamaica at all. But we saw everything that we needed to see on the Cuban Doppler radar imagery right here. Taking a look at the live camera here from C Jamaica's YouTube channel. This is halfway through in St. Andrew, and as you can see right here, we have people driving about, going about their business, people in their vehicles going about their business. Nothing in the way of bad weather taking place at this time, and that should be the order of the evening into the night. Taking a look at the temperatures right now, we can see that we're at 25 degrees Celsius in Montego Bay, 25 degrees Celsius in Kingston, and by about 4 a.m. on Monday, temperature should dip down to about 23 degrees Celsius in Montego Bay, 22 degrees Celsius in Kingston. Taking a look at the temperature forecast for tomorrow, This map from the GFS is valid for 18Z on Monday, which is actually 1 p.m. on Monday, and we can see Jamaica right here embedded in the grays that represents average temperatures. I know the average temperature for the month of November across Jamaica is around 88 degrees Fahrenheit. When that's converted to degrees Celsius that we use here in Jamaica, that's around 31.1 degrees Celsius. So that should be Jamaica's temperature for Monday, November 17. And we are glad that we still see JPS out there working hard to get power restored to those persons who were badly affected by Melissa out west. They're without electricity for the most part, so the temperatures are gonna be felt even more by them. So it states here, from them today, they posted Montego Bay. This is what all hands on deck looks like. Right now, hundreds of our JPS linemen alongside our international partners are on the ground. This is a massive coordinated push. This is the first and most critical step in rebuilding the entire West. And there they are, hard at work on the light posts. There they are, working hard, trying to get everything sorted out so that people are back on the grid. We also have another post here from them. They stated November 16. Notice Top Road in Montego Bay closed until 8 p.m. to support critical JPS restoration work now underway. Top Road in Montego Bay will be closed to vehicular traffic until 8 p.m. this evening, Sunday, November 16. Motorists are being asked to use alternate routes. We apologize for any inconvenience and thank you for your patience and understanding as we work to safely restore power. Alright, so hopefully those areas get the power very soon. And we have some tips right here to beat the heat as usual. So if tomorrow is going to be a bit too hot for you, it states here, dress down, wear lightweight clothing and use sunscreen. Check on others including children, elderly people with medical conditions and pets. Be cool, stay indoors and make use of fans and air conditioners. Avoid alcohol and caffeine as they can make dehydration worse. Limit non-essential strenuous activity during the hottest parts of the day. And I cannot stress enough the importance of staying hydrated throughout the day. Drink lots of water even if you're not thirsty and put away those sugar drinks and drink water instead. The dry air map. As you know, the dry air is represented by what we see on the key on the bottom, the yellows, oranges, the reds, the whites within those reds. We see some dry air extending across portions of the main development regions, northern portions extending from northwestern Africa. We see some dry air across the waters to the north of Hispaniola, in and around Jamaica, in and around Cuba, northwestern Caribbean into the Gulf. There's a lot of dry air there. We know that the dry air is responsible for shutting down an area in general, basically making it harder for it to rain in general because of all of the dry stable air. But look at where we have the blues. The blues represents that moist air, and wherever we have moist air, that's where we have more of the clouds in the grays. And we see some moist air in the main development region, southern section, where we have the intertropical convergence zone. Some moisture across the eastern to the central to the southwestern Caribbean right in here. Hopefully it's not enough to bring a lot of moisture or anything like that over the next couple of days, because boy, especially the western end of Jamaica doesn't need any rainfall at this time. But if we take a look at the next 3 days, November 17, November 18 and November 19, we see that there's not much in the Saharan dust to worry about, because we don't see much coming through the main development region pushing westward into the Caribbean. We know that the Saharan dust can definitely cause hazy skies, not to mention trigger respiratory illnesses in some persons. So we're grateful that this is the forecast for the next 3 days across the Atlantic. Regarding the wave forecast for tomorrow, the light shades of blues to blues across the Caribbean in general, that represents 0.5 for meter wave height to 1 meter wave height, and that's because of the weak winds for the entire Caribbean. More so from the east than anything else, 5 to 10 knots averaging. But if we zoom in on Jamaica's wave forecast for tomorrow, to the north of Portland 0.5 for meter wave height, to the north of St. Anne 0.4 for meter wave height, to the north of Hanover 0.2 for meter wave height, to the south of Westmoreland 0.2 for meter wave height expected, to the south of Clarendon 0.3 for meter wave height expected, while to the south of St. Thomas 0.5 for meter wave height expected. And that is because of the winds that are expected. We see more of an easterly flow of the winds averaging 6 knots to the north of Portland, to the south of St. Thomas averaging 7 knots, to the south of Clarendon averaging 6 knots, to the north of St. Anne averaging 7 knots. So we definitely see that it's more of an easterly flow than anything else. Kind of looks east-northeasterly-ish kind of looks easterly, if not east southeasterly on the south coast. And we see where we have the least amount of winds. That is where we have the air piling up, the low level clouds becoming mid level rain clouds, if not upper level cumulonimbus clouds in the daytime, heating in the afternoon hours, and then we still have that upper level wind shear coming in from the west. So if we actually get some convection tomorrow, just like what we had today, where we had a brief convection burst out west, we could get something like that on land tomorrow. Then those clouds are being sheared off towards the east. And if we take a look at the actual rainfall forecast maps now, this map from the Euro and this map from the GFS are both valid for 4 p.m. Jamaica time. And what do we see on both maps? We see some blues that represent rainfall, mainly across sections of some central and western parishes. And it definitely looks more south central and more southwestern parishes than anything else. So maybe sections of Western St. Thomas, Kingston, St. Andrew, St. Catherine, Clarendon, Manchester, St. Elizabeth, Westmoreland, maybe Southern Hanover, Southern St. James, Southern Trelawney, Southern St. Anne getting on some of the action. And we clearly see that both the Euro and the GFS malls are in agreement with this forecast. And we know that when they're in agreement like this, the chances are higher for it to actually take place. Even the total accumulated precipitation forecast maps that are showing all the rainfall that's expected from now up until 10 p.m. on Monday are in agreement that it's going to be raining somewhere in Jamaica within the next 24 hours. The Euro going up to at least 0.25 an inch of rainfall. The GFS going up to at least 0.15 an inch of rainfall. Whatever happens, we just have to take it. We're in the month of November, and in St. James, we usually receive around 128 millimeters of rainfall this month. That's about the same as 5 inches of rainfall. In Westmoreland, we usually receive 105 millimeters of rainfall this month. That's about the same as 4.1 inches of rainfall. And if you'd like to find out what your specific parish usually receives in terms of rainfall for the month of November or for the entire year, you can visit nomadseason.com and that website to show you that information. Alright, so we're going to be looking at what the next 7 days have in store for us according to the latest Euro and GFS Supercomputer models that came out today. So keep your eyes focused on the timestamp right here at the top as we go to the next 168 hours that stands for the next 7 days. Keep your eyes focused on Jamaica right down here as we look for all of this that we see on the key on the right. That's the reds, the oranges, the yellows, and the greens. That represents inches of rainfall. So let's see what's going to be taking place. Alright, so 12Z on Tuesday is actually 7 a.m. Don't see much of anything across Jamaica. We're shaded in white, so no rainfall at that time for Tuesday morning. Then Tuesday afternoon, maybe some dots of greens here and there. Looks more isolated shower ish than anything else. Tuesday morning on the GFS, nothing, just like the Euro. Tuesday afternoon, even worse, nothing at all. Looks like come dry days are ahead. How about Wednesday morning? Wednesday morning, not much of anything either. Wednesday afternoon, looks like some rainfall across the far eastern end. What do we see on the GFS? Wednesday morning, rainfall across the eastern end. Then on Wednesday afternoon, we're seeing that rainfall across some northeastern and southern parishes. So it looks like we're getting back in on that northeasterly flow with that rainfall on the northeast coast. Thursday morning, still rainfall across the northeast. Thursday afternoon, rainfall across eastern, central, and western parishes. Wouldn't be surprised if it's more so northeastern parishes and southern parishes. What does the GFS show for Thursday morning and afternoon? Thursday morning, northern parishes with that rainfall. Thursday afternoon, rainfall across the northeast and the southern parishes. What do we see on Friday morning? On Friday morning, we're seeing some isolated showers across the far eastern end. On Friday afternoon, we're seeing rainfall across what looks like some southern parishes. What do we see on the GFS? Friday morning, rainfall across the east, rainfall across the northwest. Friday afternoon, rainfall across some southwestern parishes. What do we see on Saturday into Sunday now? On Saturday morning, we're seeing rainfall across the northeastern end of the island once again. Then on Saturday afternoon, we're seeing that rainfall across some northeastern and southern parishes. And we're stopping it right here at the end of the 168 hours. So this is valid for Sunday, November 23. And we're seeing that moisture to the north of us across the eastern end. We're also seeing what looks like a decent looking frontal system across the central US into the southern US and the Gulf. What do we see on the GFS? Do we have agreement? For Saturday morning, rainfall across the north coast. For Saturday afternoon, rainfall across some central and western parishes. For the end of the 168 hours, so Sunday, November 23 as well. Not much of anything, but we see a huge contrast. Euro for Sunday, November 23 has what looks like a decent looking frontal system from the Gulf into the southern and central US extending northward. The GFS, not so much. It looks like it is maybe already pushed east of the US by that time. Or we'll see it actually plays out. You know that the Euro and the GFS can, differ sometimes. So We'll see how the end of the next 7 days actually turns out. And if we take a look at the total accumulated precipitation for the next 7 days, both maps right here from the Euro and the GFS are adamant that the most rainfall over the next 7 days should be wherever where the dark reds into the purples and the pinks. That represents what we see here. That's about the 2 all the way up to the 5 inches of rainfall range, and we see that across section of Nicaragua into Costa Rica, Colombia, southern and western Venezuela, into portions of Trinidad and Tobago, Guadeloupe, Dominica, into Barbados, section of St. Lucia getting on some of the action. We see a lot of that especially to the east of the Windward Islands, and we see that on both the Euro and the GFS model. So those areas could definitely get on some isolated flash flooding for sure, while other areas that are shaded in the greens, yellows, oranges, and reds that represents an inch of rainfall or less. We're talking about much of Central America into the Greater Antilles and the Leeward Islands. Those areas should be getting less rainfall. While if we zoom in on Jamaica's rainfall totals for the next 7 days, clearly over the next 7 days, we're talking about from now up until November 23, just like the bigger map. But this is just the close-up. Clearly the most rainfall should be on the northeastern side. On the Euro, we're seeing the blues into the greens, into the yellows, into the oranges that represents inward. From 10 all the way up to maybe 57 millimeters of rainfall according to the Euro. The GFS going up to at least 75 millimeters of rainfall across the northeast. We'll see it actually plays out, and whatever happens, I will definitely be here to keep you posted with what occurs. Regarding the wide VF Doppler radar images for the next right now, we can see the moisture to the east of the Windward Islands associated with that trough frontal system to the north of the Leeward Islands, extending all the way up into the northern portion of North Atlantic. That trough in the Western Caribbean already affecting portions of the Cayman Islands. And if we take a look at the Doppler radar imagery, let us see what's taking place down there near Puerto Rico. So some rainfall across northeastern Puerto Rico as we speak. San Juan definitely getting on some rainfall. You also see some rainfall right here just to the east of the Leeward Islands, already affecting Guadeloupe, Dominica. And if we load these images from earlier today, we saw where we had some rainfall pushing from west to east across western and northern Puerto Rico. Some rain bands right in here just to the east of the Leeward Islands. And we can see on the Barbados radar, Barbados has definitely been getting on some moderate to heavy rainfall today. Look at that moisture pushing in from the south and pushing northward. You also see some rainfall pushing into Tobago, some rainfall pushing into St. Vincent and the Grenadines, so to section of Martinique, so to section of St. Lucia, Martinique, and we see some of that rainman activity starting to push from south to north into Dominica as well. And if we take a look at the wider VF Doppler radar images, we can see some rainfall right here across the Dominican Republic, so to section of Colombia, section of northern Belize, northern Guatemala getting in on some of the action as well. And if we take a look at where the rainfall is expected within the next 24 hours, both maps right here from the Euro and the GFS are showing all the rainfall that's expected from now up until 10 p.m. on Monday. And we see the greens into the yellows, into the oranges, and the reds that represents an inch of rainfall or less for portions of the Cayman Islands, Jamaica, Haiti, Dominican Republic, northern Puerto Rico, section of the US and British Virgin Islands, sections of St. Martin, St. Kitts and Nevis, Anguilla, Antigua and Barbuda, Montserrat, St. Kitts, sections of Guadeloupe, Dominica, Martinique, St. Lucia, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Grenada, Trinidad and Tobago, so too sections of Barbados, coastal Suriname, so too inland areas of Guyana, central to western Venezuela, Colombia, Panama, Costa Rica, Nicaragua, Honduras, El Salvador, Guatemala, Belize getting on some of the action. And we can clearly see that both the Euro and the GFS models are in agreement with this forecast. I know that when they're in agreement like this, the chances are higher for it to actually take place. Regarding what's happening on the eastern Pacific side of things, nothing much. Tropical cyclone activity is not expected during the next 7 days, and this is the reason why right here. There's some clouds right here to the south of Mexico, nothing trying to organize. Some clouds right here to the east and southeast of Hawaii, nothing trying to get organized. A lot of wind shear out there right now. Hurricane season is definitely done, so it doesn't look like we're going to be getting sunnier at all. Regarding what's happening on the Indian Ocean to the western Pacific side of things, no suspect area on the western Pacific side of things, but we're seeing that across the southern Indian Ocean right in here, is that the southern West Pacific. Either way, right here just to the north of Australia, there is something down there that has a low chance of development within the next 7 days. The Joint Typhoon Warning Center doesn't say the next 7 days. They just basically say that tropical cyclone development is unlikely within 24 hours. That's how they do it over here. So within 24 hours, it doesn't seem like this is going to be developing. But who knows? Maybe it might become a code orange or a code red within the next couple of days. We'll see. The Western Pacific, as stated, nothing happening over here near Japan, China, Taiwan. We see some moisture pushing into Vietnam, though I know we usually have to highlight what's happening across this part of the world because we have a lot of friends or relatives who live or work over this side for sure. Alright, so that's it for today. Thanks for watching.